I did my master's thesis on problems hampering the migrant child. And one of the things we've discovered, especially over the last few years on brain research, is that for many of our parents who are well-to-do and spend the time, their children come to kindergarten having heard 48 million words. But for the migrant child, or for the child where both parents work and cannot spend time with them, they come to kindergarten having heard 13 million words. 1/3. And it is not only the number of words, it is the kinds of words that children learn in that early, literally from the time they're born until their first 4 years of life, that is so critical to them. So it isn't just about preschool, because I do believe preschool is important. I work very closely with First 5, one of the organizations statewide that talks about early childhood education and pushes very hard for that. As a superintendent, I had preschools in every one of my schools. Every one of my schools. I worked with Head Start, I worked with local charities, I worked with the corporations around my school to provide preschools. I knew the value of having children get that advantage before they showed up. Again, somewhere in Sacramento, there has to be this very loud voice speaking for our children, particularly for our babies. When I was in Watsonville as a deputy superintendent, I was responsible for the migrant camps that were running in many of our schools. We actually had nurseries that we set up so that the young girls would not stay home with their younger siblings, but instead would come to school. And we spent the time with those babies, making sure that they heard adult voices, that they heard someone speaking to them. The need for preschool is so critical. We know it now more than ever. And so the idea that somehow cuts to preschool are okay, they're not really in school yet, is a disaster. Your children learn more, your babies learn more during those first 4 years, and their minds begin to develop how they reason, how they think, how they speak. And without preschool programs, we run a real risk of the achievement gap getting worse than ever. The dropout rate getting worse than ever. And here's an interesting statistic. Of the people in prison, 85% of them are dropouts from high school. Think about that. The cost of keeping someone in prison runs over $50,000 a year. The cost of educating children, especially preschool children, runs under $8,000 to $9,000 a year. How do we pay for it? We have to do a combination of figuring out where our priorities are. We have to raise enough revenue from sources that are out there. And there are out there. The oil severance tax, for example. And it is important. We're in tough times now. It is very easy to say, let's raise more money. But you cannot give away the human capital of our children at this critical time. I don't care what we sacrifice. These children have to have the development so they become strong adults. How do we pay for it? We tax one another. We step up like our parents did for us and say, I'm willing to suck it up and pay for this. That's how we pay for this. Anyway, thank you for the great questions. You're brilliant. And I wish you all well, and thank you very much for the opportunity of being here today. Thank you.